Many of us, both men and women, fall into the trap of being a nice person. A peculiar trap because being nice apparently is not a bad thing, but in life it can be quite detrimental. Today, 5 tips on how to stop being nice and why it can be very good for you. If I'd known this earlier, it would have saved me a lot of trouble in my life. Being a nice, polite person who always finds a good solution or takes on the burden of smoothing out a conflict is a state desired by many parents. Yes, by unconsciously demanding obedience from their children, demanding it, shushing the child all the time, parents create such a nice and polite individual. Just imagine this beautiful picture. A lovely daughter, a smiling mother, a joyful dad, and an amused little son. It looks beautiful in the photo, but backstage there is a threatening finger and a strained hiss, "Don't go there or you'll regret it." Such an idyllic scene saturated with the fear of doing something wrong. Of course, I don't mean to blame everything on the parents, but they're actually the force in a little person's life that tries to stop, regulate, arrange, and control everything. Being nice, however, has its dire consequence. Psychologists are clear in their opinion that in adulthood, self-awareness and tenacity are more desirable traits than being submissive. This is due to the simple feeling of self-worth that we experience each time we rise to the occasion, show courage, tell our tormentor what we really think, even if it costs us a black eye, makes us feel morally and mentally victorious. I kept my dignity, I fought despite everything. This victory automatically raises our self-worth. We conquered what was bothering us. However, if each time we allow ourselves to be cornered and dominated by a bully, and we politely surrender, despite our great discomfort, the feeling of guilt will stay with us as long as this process is repeated. Then you hear about the voluntary manslaughter in the heat of passion, because our tormentor did not imagine the kind of monster he had bred with his action. An extreme example, perhaps, but it can be applied in every area of life. Overcoming adversities, not giving in, consciously building our self-esteem. These are the foundations of great job interviews, negotiations, project and team management. In our culture, women have it worse. Little girls are brought up to be polite, and this greater social pressure creates more submissive women, which ultimately harms them. Unfortunately, this is one of the main reasons for the fact that statistically, in salary negotiations, women propose a smaller amount for the same position than men. They're also statistically less effective in sales position, as there are fewer of them there. This cultural pressure to be nice hurts both sexes, but that especially affects women. So listen. First advice: you don't have to be liked. Is it really the biggest problem in your life when someone doesn't fancy you? Think about it. Do you care about being liked even by strangers? Just so as not to offend them or to alienate yourself, you abstain from expressing your opinion, or worse, a critical remark. Like on a bus, someone is standing on your toe and you think, well, only one more stop left, I can stand it. I don't want to be impolite to the other person or cause them any discomfort. What I'm presenting now is the thought process of the typical yes man, a person who always agrees with everyone. This nasty vice to suppress emotions and opinions, mask them just because someone may not like it, has dire consequences. They include chronic stress, stomach ulcers, discomfort in meetings, and dislike of the workplace. It's certainly a great trigger for depression, and eventually you run the risk of explosion. Because when you do explode, it will often be over the top, and to most observers, it'll definitely be an exaggerated reaction, because nobody knows about your hidden world of repressed emotion. Stop being a yes man who just follows the crowd and is never heard from. Of course, that doesn't mean that being rude and loud will make you popular. Here, too, you need to exercise some caution. Sometimes it is good to hold back in company. Not everyone will be interested in your opinion about the church, religion, politicians, or gay marriage, especially if you choose hurtful words. However, that does not change the fact that emphasizing your presence and uniqueness, not always going with the crowd, will make you noticed, remembered, sometimes even appreciated for being expressive. And when it comes to romantic relationships, it'll certainly get you noticed by the opposite sex. A person with clear views is someone interesting. It'll also make some people like you more and some less, but among those who like you more, you will feel more comfortable. Advice number 2. Decide where your loyalties are. It's not a complicated question. Where is your loyalty? What is more important? Which investments in life are worth the most? Nice people usually have a huge problem with this. They never know what is more important and they do things against their own interest. They harm themselves by trying to satisfy everyone. So where can your loyalty lie? Do you want to be loyal to your work colleagues or your family? Is your home more important or your friends in office? Is it better to invest in helping people you barely know or focus on the development of your family? Okay, these questions are rhetorical and most of you watching this video probably answered that loyalty is with family and home. So what will be in the interest of caring for your family and creating a home together? Higher wages? Sure. Better knowledge of how to care for the family? Certainly. Perhaps more time with family? Definitely, yeah. So why, as a nice guy, do you always agree to work overtime, accept a meager salary, are afraid to ask for a raise, or keep looking for a new job that pays better? It's a nice person's nightmare. If you want more, you have to interrupt someone, take their time, express your needs, knock on the door and say, "Hello, I'd like more, otherwise I'm leaving." And if you're single, don't be afraid to come up to an attractive person and say, "Good morning, I'd like to invite you for coffee," or just chat them up. Because I would disturb that person, take their time, and that would be so rude. Maybe it's not royal etiquette, but it is in your best interest and where your loyalty lies. Be loyal to what is important to you. Never put it on the back burner. Always put important things first. If family is more important, don't agree to overtime. If you want to build a house and secure your future, look for better income. If you want to raise your child and experience it better, look for a solution that will allow you to stay at home more. These decisions will be yours. They'll make you proud, and at the same time, you'll take care of the really important things in your life. No one cares about your priorities and loyalty. No one will ever guess what you expect and what is important to you until you say it clearly. If you're always nice and just beat around the bush, no one will guess what you want. If you want a raise, say it. Invite her for coffee, do it. You want time off? Fight for it. Another job? Look for it. Don't wait for it to come to you on a silver tray. Third, set your boundaries. It's very easy to take advantage of a nice person. Overload them with homework, make them do the grunt work for the whole group so the rest can just bask in the glory. They can be forced to work overtime under the threat of dismissal. Sometimes, young and very inexperienced women submit to the pressure of a boyfriend and do something sexual they didn't really want, but thought they just had to. And unfortunately, this is not uncommon. There are thousands of tricks. The result is always the same. Apart from the unpleasant thing we agreed to do that we do not want to do, we feel bad about letting ourselves be trapped again in the thinking that if I refuse this person, he won't like me anymore. I talked about this specific problem in one of my videos about assertiveness, so let me just reiterate. When you refuse someone, they will not cease to like you, but may gain respect for you. Secondly, if this person presses and manipulates your emotions, you have a clear signal to withdraw from the whole situation. Some people can play on your emotions to achieve what they want, lead you by the nose, threaten unpleasant consequences if you don't do what they want. And then you can just turn around and leave. First, a manipulative personality is the worst kind of acquaintance one can have. Second, if you draw a line and politely but firmly refuse to cross it, you will gain respect, if not of the manipulator himself, then those who witness or know about it. Third, you keep your dignity, you don't feel used later. If you feel that in order to please someone you have to do whatever that person wants, you are wrong. What's more, breaking boundaries, including your own, is not so great or sexy in an aesthetic, ethical, or moral sense. If you feel a strong need to be cool, to show off and do something stupid or rude or vulgar, to be seen as such a spontaneous and unusual type, then don't. Deep down you know that you're doing something stupid and you know that creating that image costs you your self-respect. Remember not to put your own taste aside just because you want to impress someone. These boundaries should be clear. After all, if you're a heavy metal fan, would you go to a Justin Bieber concert with a potential girlfriend candidate? Let's have some respect. Without boundaries, unfortunately, you are much more likely to remain in the friend zone rather than gain her respect as a life partner. The same applies to all kinds of corporate events. If you feel that something is definitely not for you, or that the event could be a bit different, don't hesitate to act. These are your boundaries. Respect them and others will respect you. Fourth, just because you're nice doesn't mean you're entitled to anything. Of course, being polite to your neighbors, small gestures can repay you in a disproportionate way. You may be treated to homemade cake, preserves, or a basket of wild mushrooms from a neighbor's autumn trip to the forest. That's one side of the coin. But just being polite, keeping your head down, not claiming what's yours, not speaking up when someone steps on your toe, or when you think you're owed something and have been left out, doing what all polite people do, you simply won't get it. A great example is when a polite person is for some reason omitted in the allocation of bonuses or awards at a company meeting. It's a hypothetical situation, but many of us have experienced it in one way or another. The manager praises individual achievements on the project. For some reason, he forgets about you and your friend. The team sees it, there is an air of awkwardness among them. The manager congratulates one more time, shakes their hands, and moves on to the next topic. You are hurt as if a bus just hit you. It was you who did so much, and this jerk didn't even mention your name? Was that a punishment? Why did he do this to you and to your friend? Half hour later in the cafeteria, everyone is buzzing about this. They agree that you deserved it too, that you are a valuable member of the team, that he's a total jackass. Sleepless nights and stomach ulcers follow. Unfortunately, this escalation continues until some conversation summing up the month when someone tells the manager about his omission and he apologizes profusely and explains that he missed it because he had barely returned from another meeting and had no notes. Simple human error. Human error versus your hours of stressing out, anxiety, getting all worked up about it. Unfortunately, that's how nice people often end up, especially when surrounded by others like them. Just because you're being nice doesn't mean everyone will appreciate it, see it, and give you full attention. On the contrary. 1. In a group of nice people, nobody will stand up for you because everyone wants to be nice. Nobody will interrupt, "Mr. Manager, you forgot about our colleagues." 2. Being a nice person yourself, you won't say anything because how could you? 3. After the meeting, you won't say anything about being treated unfairly because that will be pretentious. You can live without this distinction. 4. Privately, every nice person will appreciate your claims, but they will be nice enough to take care of their own nice business. Remember that being nice often means abandoning your interests because you don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable, to point out a mistake to your manager that he forgot. As a result, your sense of injustice can grow inside you to enormous proportions. Being nice and well-rounded is an existential minimum, but as a rule, to get something more in life, you have to reach for it. Put a little more courage and effort into the whole process. Last but not least, advice number 5. Nice almost always means boring. Unfortunately, a polite person who conditions all his actions upon the comfort of others and never does anything against the current trends usually ends up being uninteresting, even boring. Unfortunately. Passions require character and willpower. Same with business or academic careers, learning difficult subjects or interesting skills. Every single interesting thing that your parents or grandparents, who are constantly concerned about you, advise you against because it's dangerous or unreasonable, is difficult. Every interesting thing is demanding and needs your clear will, your clear opinion on it. And this clear view may not appeal to many people. Not being a nice person doesn't mean being rude or vulgar. Rather, it means having your principles and assertively refusing when someone breaks these principles or pressures you to go beyond your limit. What is probably most important here is saying what you think and feel about a given topic. Thanks to this, you will attract people who agree with you, and this will certainly make your environment more comfortable for you, and you will simply feel more relaxed. So don't be so nice, but remember, Be extraordinary.